The Cashier Girl Phenomenon by the memeologist. Cashier Girl Phenomenon. What the hell is this?
Really strange about this meme. Look at this picture. Okay, how about this one? And this one.
Oh, okay.
Look at this picture.
Vogue model versus McDonald's cashier. Okay.
Okay, how about this one?
Vogue model versus McDonald's cashier.
And this one.
Celebrities and models versus some around a cashier. Oh, I got it. I got it. Yeah, it's the same phenomenon I observe. I think everyone observes that, right? Like, how the people in the media, like celebrities and all of this stuff, are all like, all have this face like devoid of soul, like, seems to be cloned from each other, you know, this, I call that the facial demonization. Like, people call, like, the name is facial harmonization, right? But I always call, like, facial demonization because it really is what it is, like. They become something inhuman, in my opinion. After they change their faces with surgeries and etc., they all gain this devil face, I would say, you know. You can really recognize, you look at that and you say, oh, they are, you look at that and you immediately look and tell, like, oh, they are a part of the system. They are a piece of the system. It's like they gain it the devil seal, you know, when they change their faces like that. Be it the hair, the hairstyle, the surgeries that they do in the face to have all the same goddamn faces, you know, and how almost all the actresses now, like not actresses, all the singers now have almost all the same voice, you know, and things like that. It's things like that. And you have the random cashier girl that is just a normal woman without anything of that, and somehow looks better than these creatures.
Now, if you pick the girl on the right as the more attractive one, in most of the instances,
obviously, these are some cases, okay? We also have, I bet, like, we have, like, many ugly cashiers as well, but I got his points, like, that what you really can find in random stores, like, women that they are prettier than these creatures.
Congratulations. You and about 1 million other people arrived at the same exact conclusion independently. Because this is the model versus cashier meme.
Are you serious? IRL, the cashier is obese. Though the models are underweight, to be fair. What the fuck? Before we go any further, I want to take this brief moment here to thank all of you, my patrons, for the incredible support to my work here on YouTube, and especially my 5-tail fox style member, the Holy Ball, and to all of my 3-tail fox style members, Wallany Wolf, Fanny Sylvie, Eat Himself, Chile Not Serious, Eustace the Useful, Zealous Isaiah, Ala Rosas, Max Tenor, Nugutino, Avery, Halcyonic Eder, and TV8. Thank you very much. You guys are amazing. Also, thanks to everyone that have been supporting me on Ko-Fi, Kick, and to all of my YouTube members. You can support this channel life and growth with just $5 a month and gain access to many perks. This is less than a burrito. Check out my Patreon. Link is in the description below.
And its premise is pretty simple. Put a professional model or celebrity on one.
Look at this. You see, this is the face I talk about. This is the face. Look at this face. Look, and people want me to believe that this woman is pretty? No fucking shit.
Side, put a random girl who works at a drive-thru or a gas station on the other, and imply that the latter is far more attractive. But I don't think this is just a meme that's made by Discord and Reddit mods.
I really like this images that they made for the mods. It's somehow so accurate.
I think there's something going on here culturally and psychologically that's way more relevant to how people experience life right now than it's given credit for. But first, where did this meme come from anyway? You see, most memes have a shelf life of about 4 months. Maybe more if Drake is involved. But these
I love Dodge, that's so nice.
things show up, they get remixed, people squeeze every possible variation out of them, And then they quietly go into the great meme graveyard alongside Pepperidge Farm and that woman yelling at the cat. Well, the model versus cashier is still very much alive today. I mean, I guess, depending on your algorithm. But this thing has been circulating since 2021, and its origins is kinda weird. You'd think a meme about beauty standards would come from, I don't know, a dating subreddit or a beauty forum, or some corner of TikTok where people argue about jawlines for a living. But no, on July 12, 2021, a user named Cesaro Papismo
What? His name what? Cesaro Papismo? What? I cannot read. Mais escrever? Cesaro Papismo. What the fuck?
posted an image macro in the subreddit r Cesaro
9% of Instagram models run a girl working at the DMV.
Papismo posted an image macro in the subreddit r Mountain Blade, which for those who don't know is a subreddit dedicated to a medieval combat video game. The original meme at that time compared two game characters, one labeled 90% of Instagram models, and the other random girl working at the DMV, implying of course that the DMV girl was more attractive. Now, this post got 4,000 upvotes, which for a niche gaming subreddit is kinda ridiculous. I mean, it's not a lot if you think about it, but definitely better than one of those 15-minute standing ovations at Cannes where all the actors are crying and hugging each other like they just cured polio. But 3 days later, a completely different user took that same idea and repackaged it using the Doomer Girl format and posted it to our memes. And that's when everything
What's supermodels? He ran a girl liking I say cashier.
changed. Because the post got a whopping 140,000 upvotes. I mean, at that point, it just stops being a joke because obviously there was something going on in there that made 140,000 people go, hell yeah. And since then, there are probably countless iterations, versions, and variations of this meme that just morphed it into what we can see now. However, it leaves a really interesting question, which is, why does the cashier win in the first place? Because if you think about it, it doesn't really make any sense. These people are pitted against professional.
It doesn't make any sense that the cashier girl wins? Like, what the fuck are you talking about? The thing is that you can win or lose with the cashier girl, but you always lose with the models. You know what I mean? All of the models are ugly. But the cashier girl, you can win or lose. I think that's the thing.
Professional models and actors was literally a full-time occupation
The models are designed for you to lose. That's what I mean.
is, well, looking attractive. So what's actually going on here? There are a lot of theories here. Some people would argue that the cashier wins because she's not performing, quote unquote. She's not pouting at the camera or doing that weird open mouth thing that models do in perfume ads or
You!
whatever that eyebrow thing Jaden Smith unpopularized.
What the fuck?
She is just existing, ringing up a Big Mac meal or taking your order. It's not performative in the negative connotation of the word, and it's humble and authentic. Which brings us to the next theory, that maybe people actually like beauty more when it's just discovered. Here's what I mean by that. When you want to impress a person, what do? Well, you show your achievements, right? But what about someone else telling that person your achievements instead, and you're not even aware of it? That person is bound to be even more impressed. I mean, that's the whole premise of recommendation letters. And that's partly why people look at the cashier and see someone that's just more attractive. It's beauty that's not shoved into your throat by a brand or a magazine or an Instagram post. It's just discovered. Now, these theories are great, but they're not exactly explaining why, visually, the cashier wins for most people. Because there's a reason that's way more interesting and honestly a little strange. So back in 1990, two researchers named Judith Langlois and Laurie Rogman ran an experiment. They wanted to test a hunch, a very old hunch actually, that many scientists had already been noticing since the 1800s. It's just that nobody really
Quite
sat
a long
down
time.
and tested it properly. And so Langlois and Rogman decided they would do just that. The experiment goes like this.
I summon
They
wall
took a
of
bunch of
text.
people's faces and digitally created a composite face, basically a mosaic of people. And then they would ask a large pool of participants to rate that face against a singular, non-composite face and see what happens, essentially. Well, long story short, the composite faces won by a large margin, scoring a full standard deviation higher or more than the individual faces. And what's even more interesting is that the more faces they added to the composite, the attractiveness rating went up in an almost perfectly straight line. And it didn't even matter which faces they started with. Some of the composites started with not so attractive faces as the base.
But what does that mean? I don't think I understood.
Some started with an attractive face, and some had way more unattractive faces mixed in than attractive ones. But the outcome was largely the same. And this happened because the individual irregularities essentially disappeared into the blend. That's why the more average the face got,
So people stopped caring about the defects and paying more attention to the qualities in the face. That's it?
the more attractive it was rated. But here's where it gets weird. Because in 2003, two other researchers, Halberstad and Rhodes, recreated the study, but with birds and fish, and for some reason, cars. And again, the averages won, which means your brain isn't just doing this because it wants you to reproduce with healthy humans. Your brain is doing this with everything. It's basically a pattern averaging machine that finds the most typical version of literally.
Oh, but that's our brain is very good at understand patterns and all of that. Like we all know very well, right?
Anything more beautiful than the extreme
Like it's the main thing that our brain I think does best of all is like then identify patterns.
versions. And guess who's close?
And that's why we have all this pattern recognition with nociceptoring and everything because our brains train it for that. I think I even talked about that once before.
Closer to average than you think. Yes, that cashier girl. Now, I assure you, this isn't just a roundabout way for me to say that cashier girls and baristas are all mid, at least not in the negative connotation that that word has today. But just think about this. Models, by definition, are not average. They're usually tall, strong jawlines, higher than usual cheekbones, they have eyes that are pretty far apart. Some don't even have eyebrows. Those are not your average
Holy
features.
shit.
And that's because their job isn't really to be attractive in the romantic sense. It's to grab attention. Attention for the brand, attention for the magazine. It's productized.
That's the problem with attention. You can get the good attention or the bad attention, but really seems that everyone wants only the bad attention. Be it online by creating high school girl dramas, Mean Girls and etc. Or be it like this, like you're seeing, like everything.
Beauty. That's why.
I don't know. I wonder, it's easier? I think maybe it's because it's easier to get attention by being badly seen than actually for being good. Probably this is the reason. Probably. Because when you are just being good, people always think that you are performing. But when you are being bad, even though it's intentional, like some people do, people right away believe that you're bad. And that's not actually wrong, because if you are performing that you're bad to get attention, you are probably a bad person, really. Because only a bad person would think of doing bad stuff just to get recognition and attention. And are you crazy? Did I say something wrong? Do you guys agree with me? I don't know.
I still remember the very first time I saw an actual model on television. It was from some fashion show that was airing in the background when I was still a kid. Now, I don't remember the details of the show, but I do remember.
I mean, a good person wouldn't think of trying to get themselves like bad attention just for the sake of like getting money or views or etc. But we can easily see a bad person doing that because these people will do whatever it takes for money and fame, you know. So I don't think are wrong. So now you have two types of bad people. The type of people that is just genuinely being bad online, and the ones that are being performatively bad. Oh my god. I don't know.
That I felt a little scared. I mean, I was a stupid kid and there was nothing dramatic really happening. The models weren't doing anything wrong, but something about the emptiness of their stare or their faces felt a little
Exactly,
uncanny to me.
Tristan.
And it turns out I wasn't just imagining it, because a blank expression
Yeah, that's actually true, pseudo-brains. Unlike mass shooters, they want attention. That's true. I know it's ridiculous, but that's true. You see that when they get arrested, the first thing that they usually say or talk about is if they are being seen on the TV and for how long people will actually talk about them when they are on jail. You know, they are a lot worried with things like that, you know?
expressionless face had been a rule on catwalks for as long as catwalks have existed.
It's not for all of them, but yeah, some do things like that for revenge, you know, or because they were bullied or stuff like that. But for sure, certainly, part of these mass shooters are exactly like that. I remember that we even reacted to a video of a mass shooter like that here before in this channel. You know, I don't remember how long it has, but I remember that he was more like worried. He was having fun and all, like even being arrested for that, but because he was more happy with the repercussion that that was having and everything, than actually, you know, for the things that they done. That's crazy.
I mean, sure, models are allowed to smile at the very end of the show when the designer walks out and everyone's applauding, but during the actual walk, smiling is pretty much off the table. Ben Stiller even made it into a signature look called the Blue Steel in Zoolander, which just pokes fun at how ridiculous everything about this is. But there's actually some history behind it, which came from paintings. You see, for centuries, royal portraits showed kings and queens with this specific look. The look that makes it seem like they're above it all, unimpressed, like nothing around them was worth reacting to. And by the 1800s, that same look made its way into these things called cartes de visite, which were basically calling cards with your portraits on them. Fast forward to the early 1900s, and fashion photographers realized this look could actually sell things. And it worked because society had shifted by then. Class wasn't as locked in as it used to be, and people could actually move up if they had the right job or connections or, you know, the right dress. So when a photographer
Good. Good. Soon that's not gonna happen anymore.
put that same aristocratic expression on a model in a magazine ad, the message basically wrote itself. Wear this, look like this, and you get to feel untouchable too. Now, that's great and all, but that would absolutely not work in the service industry. Unless you're a regular at Karen's Diner, it wouldn't really be appealing to you if some cashier girl or waitress looked down on you. And that's probably part of the reason why these two are being compared in this meme. The contrast is simply interesting. But it makes me wonder if that's all there is to this video of Jenna Renee, because after all, it got 140 million views. I think it's definitely part of the story on why it became viral, but I don't think that's the whole picture. Because I think to really understand what else is going on, we have to stop talking about the cashier's face and start talking about what's happening to the person looking at her. Because attractiveness isn't just a math equation that happens in your brain, it's also a social judgment. And social judgments are weird because they don't follow rules and they contaminate each other in ways you don't even notice. So what you might think as a simple
No, I don't actually think it changed at all. Obviously, because society became more modern, like for example, the social status and the money factor changed in the parts. For example, for women that would change a lot more, but I don't think that changed much for a man. I don't know. I think men still look for the exact same thing that they used it to look for. I think it changed more. If changed anything at all in that, it was for the women.
hot or not reaction is actually the
And I'm not even saying like in a bad thing or good thing. Like I'm just saying that it changed.
end result of your brain pulling in a dozen different signals all at once. And for a very, very long time, nobody really understood how that happened. Until some guy almost 100 years ago accidentally stumbled onto it by studying soldiers. So back in 1920, a psychologist named Edward Thorndike was studying how military commanding officers rated their soldiers. The way it worked is that officers had to fill out this long evaluation forms, basically a checklist of every trait you could think of: intellect, physique, voice, energy, neatness, etc. etc. The point is, these are pretty standard stuff. The military stuff just wanted to know which guys were performing well on what. But as Thorndike was looking at all of these results coming in, he started noticing something weird. He saw that if a soldier was rated highly on one thing, they tended to be rated highly on a bunch of other totally unrelated things too. Which was weird because being tall shouldn't make you smarter, or having a nice voice shouldn't make you more loyal. But the data kept saying otherwise, and the correlations were pretty high. This essentially became the foundational research for the halo effect. Because think about what she's actually doing in those short 30 seconds of interaction. She's looking at you, making eye contact, smiling, or maybe remembering your order, saying have a great day, and kinda sort of meaning it. Each one of them plants a positive trait in your brain: warmth, kindness, attentiveness, friendliness, and then that trait bleeds into
The
how
halo
everyone
effect.
evaluates your
That's
face.
a real deal.
But here's the thing. It's not really everyone, right? Because let's be honest, it's mostly just men. Actually, I'm pretty sure it's just men that have this experience, and therein lies the problem. Because this isn't exactly a new problem. In fact, humans have been doing this exact thing for literally centuries. Back in
No, I think it's for men and women, but definitely yes, definitely like you will see like a lot less men being able to cause the halo effect on women than the contrary. Like that's easy to understand. That's pretty much simple and easy to understand that.
1917, a sociologist named Frances Donovan went undercover as a waitress in a Chicago lunch cafe. She basically took a job and pretended to be just another working girl. But what she documented in her experience was honestly just sad. The men walking into these restaurants walked out with a weirdly specific impression of the waitresses. A lot of them conflated her friendliness
Okay, mac
with
and
a real
cheese.
connection. They'd come back every week asking for the same server. Some would propose dates, while some would just sit there and zone out.
Same Kirby.
Donovan even wrote a book about it in 1920 called The Woman Who Waits. But what changed between then and now that got this video 140 million views? Because that's crazy. Well, it's pretty simple. The average man today lives a very, very different existence from an average man 30 years ago. There's even data that alludes to this. In 1990, more than half of American men, 55%, said they had at least 6 close friends. But by 2021, that number had been cut in half. Only 27% of men reported having 6 or more close friends. And it gets worse when we look at young men. The left chart here shows the overall drop in the number of close friends, but the right chart shows something even more concerning. In 1990, 45% of young men said they would turn to a friend first, when facing a personal problem. But by 2021, that had dropped to just 22%. So if you're 20,
Yeah, the truth is that they got informed by reality that most of their friends will backstab them. It is not just for the man, for the woman as well. So that's why both sides, probably men are doing that more often, but both sides, like both genders, are actually like telling their problems to friends less often. Because modern society literally is teaching that that is not a good idea. Vomiting some internal problem that is within us to other person. You are giving them a weapon against us. I think everyone understood that already. Hello, Ilakar Shivern. Hello.
28 years old and you have a bad day at work, and the only person you feel like you can talk to about it is your mom, that's not a great sign. Here's an observation from psychiatrist Dr. K, the guy who runs the channel Healthy Gamer. He talks about what happens to people when they lose their spouse later in life.
I don't like this content creator. I really don't like. I had even people sending me some videos of him to react. I don't like him. I don't react to his content.
When a woman loses her husband, she tends to describe it like, I lost a relationship. But when a man loses his wife, he'll often
I think this guy, this gamer GG guy, like he's too much artificial, too much faking gay. I don't like his content at all.
say, I lost a life. Now, set aside any hint of misogyny or misandry here, go heel in the corner or something. That's not the point here. The point is women build wide webs of close emotional connections that they can rely on when times get tough.
Hello,
But for
Granny
men,
Granny
through some
Goon Job
combination of
1994.
biology,
Thank you very
culture,
much.
and
Thank you.
conditioning, often end up funneling their entire emotional world
I saw her
into
stream
one
about
single
that.
person. And usually, that person is their wife. And that is absolutely not okay. Because for those who don't have a wife,
Kinsama.
the second another person shows you some basic warmth, a barista that remembers your preference, a cashier that smiles at you, or a waitress that
Barista.
calls you
I
her
think it
favorite
sounds
customer,
nice.
you
It's
do
like
this.
burrito.
Psychologists call this parasocial relationships. It's a relationship where you feel like you know someone even though they literally have no idea you exist. But it's also kinda not, because the cashier might actually know you, just not in the way you might think. But the internet kinda changed that, because now the person on your screen doesn't have to be Brad Pitt or some Korean actor. It can literally just be a girl working a drive-thru in Arkansas. Jenna Renee didn't get 140 million views because she's the most attractive woman on the internet. It's because she made 140 million people feel, just for a few seconds, that they knew someone like this girl. And to a generation of men that's quietly running out of people to talk to, that's kinda sad. Now, I want to be really careful about how I say this next part, because this isn't me saying that men are pathetic for engaging with this meme. They're not. And this isn't me saying that women working at drive-thrus are somehow obligated to be anyone's source of emotional support. Absolutely not. They're just doing their jobs. What I'm saying is that this meme, this dumb internet joke about models versus cashiers, is actually pointing at something way more important than anyone's willing to admit.
Oh,
The
definitely.
internet has
definitely.
starved us from connection, and we have to be very careful in simply disregarding this truth as something trivial or insignificant just because it's packaged
No,
as a meme.
no. I get it. It's about connection because obviously, like a barista or someone like that, just by complimenting you because they gotta do that because it's their work, being gentle because you're a customer, definitely means a lot more nowadays in days like in an age that everyone like it's an enemy of each other online, and when you don't have friends or a social life. So actually, yeah, that might trigger a halo effect on some just because of that, which is insane. But that is not just it. Like for example, like cashiers, like different, definitely looks better than the fucking models. There is that as well. But yeah,
It's a medical fact that loneliness and disconnection actually increases your risk of early death by about 26%.
no, I wouldn't say that about the man, but Yeah, for the woman, you can really tell that.
which is roughly equivalent to smoking 15 cigarettes a day.
50! What the fuck? Prolonged social isolation, loneliness are equivalent to smoking 15 cigarettes a day. Oh my god!
When I say go touch some grass, I mean go and live a more connected life.
What the fuck? What the fuck? Deal, that ending? That ending? 50 cigarettes? No, how is the base for that? Which start is that? Like, it's not CPU. You cannot just throw that on my face on the end of a video. And like how they calculated that? Like, no, this sounds fishy. No, oh my god. Nah. Okay. Just want to remind you guys to join our Discord server. You can do that by hopping on the link tree that is on your screen right now. Somewhere above up ahead. There you're gonna find not only the Discord link server, but also nice links like such as Patreon and Ko-Fi where you can support Foxu. Support Foxu because I need it, obviously. If I'm telling, it's because I need the. It's because I need money, even more now because I'm moving out and all. And I mean, you guys know that. Support Foxu, and that's it. And let's go to the next one. I don't know what else to say. I'm terrible in make ads of myself. That's it. Let's go to the next one.